Okay, good morning. Good morning, everybody. A little different background. Back in Fancy Five Towns at Holy Smokes here in Woodmere. Got the best message to myself. Me and the Hector, I think his name is doing something with his phone. But other than that, kind of quiet here. And getting ready for Tisha. Getting ready. Um, yes, last week in Shul, Rabbi Viner had a really interesting idea about Tisha and Mussar, Kavod, and Marva Shemesh just goes bananas with that concept, as everyone is going to hear something for the next 24, 48 hours about Kamsa. We're talking about the Kesher of devarim. Devarim is about Mussar and how to give Mussar and the places and Moshe. And, that's kind of where we are. We kind of are a place where we're trying to mitaken, sinas chinam, as the news gets worse and worse. This Gemara at the end of Sota that each day away from the Churban is a day worse than the day before. So the food doesn't taste as good each day, the fruit. And then what's going on in the world, things are getting, news worse and worse at times, feels, and it's not, it doesn't feel like that. It is. Every day away from the base of Migdash, away from the Churban is a day worse than the day before. It's a little bit less day of, you don't feel as good about what's going on. And we're trying to be talking that. And then the point is Musar. That's really the point, is to get back to fix what was broken. And we know that the second base midrash was sinas chinam, was hatred. What is sinas chinam? What's regular sinna? I'm not gonna, sit here before I finish my coffee and kind of tell exactly what I know exactly what it is. But you see it. You see it. You see people, fighting with each other. You see people just have a sinna, whether it's over religion, over whether it's the army, whether it's parnasa, whether it's just over a parking spot, whether the guy takes your seat in shul. These things that kind of trigger you. What the cause of it? I don't know exactly. Different things trigger different people, but that's kind of what our thing is to fix up. That's kind of where we are. And this idea of kavod is really critical in this parsha. We talk about tachach all the time, and some of us love it. Some of us love to criticize people in shul. Some of us love to kind of get into with other people and have mussar schmoozes and things like that, and to really rip into your kids or grandkids. But that's not the point. The point is kavod. The point is kavod. And Moshe's all the Farshim go out of their way and talk about all these places that Moshe mentions in the parsha and has a problem with it. Paran, Tofel, Arava, Chatzeros, Dizahav. Paran we heard of, Chatzeros, that's a place. Arava, that's a place. Nosov, we know that. But Dizahav, we had 42 places last week in Parshas Matos, and none of these places came up there. So people are scratching their heads as they hear Moshe on his way out to the next world, scratching the heads, and they go, this guy, I think he's losing it. He's mentioning all these places that no, we haven't been there. Mulsov? Is it Yamsov? Mulsov? I don't know what that is. Dizav. So Rashi, Mafarshim say these are hints to places that the Jews sinned. And because the Kavod Yisrael, they're hinted to. So instead of saying, you guys sinned at Dizahav, you with the Egel, because you were at Harsinai and you sinned at the Egel when I was talking to Hashem, getting the Torah, you sinned. Instead of saying that, Moshe says, remember Dizahav. Remember Dizahav, and the people supposed to go, oh yeah, Dizahav. Yep, that was a rough one. So that's kind of really the idea. And the Kliyakar has different ramazim to different places. No, Korach was Paran, Tofel was Mun. So, okay, be that as it may. But that's kind of really the gist of all this Mefarshim. They talk about these hints of, and the Kavod Yisrael. Kavod Yisrael. So the Marv Shemesh has a lot of interesting questions on this. First of all, Ela means this as opposed to what was before. So Ela Hadvar, these are the words. Ela Dvarim. Just like happened in Gemara, Ela, that means the answer before was no good, or the question before was no good. So the question is, why is it using the word Ela? Could have been the Ela and these things, kind of continuation. What's Ela? this is devarim as opposed to before. What's Moshe trying to say? He was saying these are the words as opposed to what was before. The other question he's asking is these places you mentioned. They also did good things because just like at Dizah, for example, at the Har Sinai, get the Torah. Yes, there was a sin, there was the Torah. So a lot of good things happened as well. So why are we kind of focusing on bad things? There's a medrash that says that every time there was a sin, is because there was good there. Yetzer Hara takes it away. When someone's doing something good, Yetzer Hara kind of wakes up and tries to point you in a bad way. So every time there was something bad, corresponding there's something good. They made in the midbar, there was sin, but there was the Aron, there was the Shulchan. They made all these kalim. So why are you focusing only on bad things? Doesn't seem right, doesn't seem appropriate, perhaps. So Marva Shemesh has an interesting idea, is that we see something very interesting in the way that the Torah was being given. Because these people, for example, were not even the sinners. You think about that, by the way. The people that actually sinned at Har Sinai at the Egel were dead. The people that actually sinned by Korach were dead. And the people that were alive to witness these events were less than 20, because if you were 20 at the time of the Meraglim, you didn't make it to this point. So what's a Kavod Yisrael? We're not talking about the people that actually sinned. The women didn't do the Averos, the Levim didn't do the Averos. The regular Jews that were Israel that were there, they weren't the sinners. So Marva Shemesh goes so far to say how careful a person is, how the manner they give Mussar, the kavod of a person, even though not that he's a sinner, even his family's a sinner. His parents, his grandparents were the really ones that are sinning. So Moshe really could have said these things, and people would have said, "Oh, yeah, it wasn't me. I was only 2 years old. I was 3 years old. Har Sinai? I was 1. I was 4. No, Moshe goes out of his way for the kavod of Yisrael to hint, but even more than that, even the idea is the manner, the way it's given, because the Marva Shemesh says something very interesting takes place. Is that he brings down the places where Moshe got angry, Moshe gets punished, or things turn south. For example, Moshe gets angry by Mei Meriva, the water. Shimon HaMorim, boom, can't go to Eretz Yisrael. Moshe and Aaron have to die in the midbar. So Moshe gets angry, a open tochacha, an openly angry tochacha. Like Soph, Moshe gets angry, Shimon HaMorim, Moshe gets punished, doesn't get Eretz Yisrael. And then last parsha, when Moshe sees that they let the women live after the war of Midian, Yiksof Moshe, you let these people live. What happens right afterwards? He forgets the halacha, what to do with these kalim for the milchama. Elazar has to kind of help out. So we see that open angriness, being angry and giving tochacha openly, no, it does not work. It works against you. It actually works against it. And think back to when you really had to give mussar to someone in shul, give mussar to a friend, your kid. You get angry. The other person, forget about not listening. It works against you. That person gets angry. So forget about it not working as intended, but it works worse. It works worse. It goes against you. And here, Moshe does a quiet, does a tachacha that is kind of hinting. What happens? The people serve Hashem all days of Yeshua. The people literally leave. They go to Yeshua and they serve Hashem all day. It says in Pasuk Shoftim, they serve Yeshua all days, all the days. What, Yeshua was a better leader? What, Moshe was Moshe. How could you sit in front of Moshe? But that's the answer. That's the answer. That's the answer. If you get Tochacha the right way, that helps you. Tochacha the wrong way, it works against you. Not just the people it works against, but against you yourself. You see the results, the opposite. And this is the idea that Chaim Shmulevitz, Rabbi Viner, mentioned last week in Shul. Good thing I was listening. The fact that we look at concept by concept. We look at, okay, hatred, He throws out this guy in shul, the party, half of it, pay for all of it. I still want you out. The guy is all sulking. He's all upset. Okay, we turn the page, go to the next story. But the idea was this guy really was a horrible guy. This guy was a Mussar. This guy, he sold him out to the government. Of course, he wouldn't be at parties. Of course, no one would want this guy at the party. He was probably the most hated guy in Yerushalayim. He was the most hated guy in Israel. Um, you made a good living those days. You're a Mussar. You actually get to tell secrets. You snitch. You get some money from the tax collector, from the government, whatever it is. So this guy was wealthy. No one liked him. Some he did things before that people hated him. Of course, you can throw him out. I'm sure when the rabbis saw this weren't protesting. They're like, "Oh my gosh, we can't get rid of the guy faster. He's a rodef. You can actually kill him. Seriously, he's a rodef. Someone's trying to kill you. You kill him. Akadei you can't embarrass someone. Akadei the covet of someone. Yes, person's a sinner. Yes, the guy, I don't know. He said lashon hara a lot. Yes, he's not careful about Shabbos. Yes, there's still a level of kavod. Just because the guy is a sinner, there's no heter to put the guy down, to embarrass someone in public. There's no heter to hate someone. And this is kind of the idea I think we have to approach Tisha B'Av and Hochech Techiach. Yes, there's a mitzvah, Hochech Techiach. Moshe did Mussar. Wasn't just the last day of his life, the last month to give Mussar. Oh, on his deathbed you give Mussar. No, Hochech Techiach is all the time, even 100 times. Even 100 times you give Mussar. But the way you do it is the most important thing. You have to give it in the way that the person is going to accept it, the way the person's going to listen, the way the person thinks that you actually mean for the person to accept the Mussar. You really care for the person. That's the Mussar you give. If you can't give Mussar in that way, just say it's feel for him and move on. That's kind of what the Marv Shemer says. And hopefully we kind of take this lesson to deal with people that are supposed to give Mussar the right way, have kavod for people. And with that, Shabbat Shalom and bye.